In a draft where it seems like all the players at the top of big board seem to be on the offensive side of the ball, there really hasn't been that top defensive player to set themselves apart from the pack. That's where I feel like defensive tackle out of Illinois, Jer'Zhan Newton, really fits himself into this draft class, as in the last year of his time at Illinois, he had 8 sacks, 28 hurries, 7 QB hits, and a 15.5% pass rush win rate, which was the best among defensive tackles. And while stats can give you a good idea, game tape really tells the whole story. As here against Wisconsin, he's going to do a little stutter step and just break in between the tackle and the guard, getting himself a pressure on the quarterback and moving him off his spot, leading to an incomplete pass that the wide receiver has no chance to catch. And that's just really the start of what this guy has to offer, as here in run defense, he's going to shed a block, make a guy look absolutely silly, and then get to the running back for the tackle. And from the tight end zone angle, you can really see the dominance of this play. Newton's pure strength is clearly on display right here, as he is tossing the guard with one arm, with his shoulders already squared to the running back who's coming directly towards him. And from there, it's just about making the tackle. On this play, we'll see a little bit of his pass rushing bag, as he's just going to swipe the hands and win the battle basically immediately. With this quickness and agility, there's not much that an offensive lineman can do, and he gets the easy pressure on the quarterback. And I really do feel bad for this poor Wisconsin left guard who had to go against Newton on this fateful day, as right here he gets absolutely turned around by the speed and quickness of Newton. He instantly swipes the hands away, and the guard needs help from the running back in order to not get his QB killed. This is easily one of the fastest swim moves I've ever seen from a defensive tackle. And this play here I decided to include not because of the pass rush power or finesse that's shown, but just because of the pure football IQ that Newton possesses. Whether he sees his teammates getting penetration or his initial pass rush being stifled, he does the right thing and plays the top of the pocket to prevent a scramble, and ends up being able to poke the ball loose and force a fumble for his team. On this play, Newton's lined up in a 4-eye technique on the inside shoulder of the tackle. He's going to end up being on the backside of this inside zone, and he needs to defeat this reach block by the backside tackle, which he does, and then finds himself involved in the tackle. On this play, actually, both players that are responsible for the reach blocks on the backside of the inside zone get beat because they're not ready for the slant down to the opposite side of where the run's going. And that ends up ruining the entire play because they get into the backfield. And then here on the next play, we're going to see what happens when his first pass rush set doesn't work out. He's going to initially go for that swipe and stab, but he's not going to get it, so he's going to transition to a bull rush and pushes the offensive lineman back into the quarterback's lap and records a pressure on the quarterback. In order to be able to rush the passer effectively in the NFL, you need to be able to improvise, especially when your plan A doesn't go exactly to plan. Here we're going to continue the trend of him just being stronger than everyone else, as he absolutely tosses the offensive lineman almost immediately after getting his hands on. And although this method of pass rush won't translate to the NFL, it's just a display of how much strength he actually has. This rep here is similar to the one earlier where he was on the backside of the inside zone, except on this one he's going to be defeating a down block from the center who needs to cover the vacated gap from the guard who's pulling. And the speed and quickness of Newton is on full display, as he's able to rip through the block of the center, force the quarterback out of the pocket, and also force a bad throw. And as much as I'd like to say that he's some perfect prospect, this play showcases some of the good and the bad from Newton's game. As we slow it down here, we see initially he gets stood up by the block, and one of the knocks on Newton is that his arms are really small. And there have been defensive tackles who had small arms and had success in the league, but they come few and far between. And then here, even though he is stood up on the first effort, he still does get around the block. This will be a conversation had among scouts at draft time, and depending on the scheme of the defense, will affect his draft position. This play showcases Newton again getting another insta-shed against the offensive line. On this one, however, he's a little out of control, so he's not able to turn this pressure into a sack. He also probably does force a hold on this play, but it's not called. But the play results in no gain. With having the shorter arms, it kind of makes it harder to manipulate blocks, especially when you're caught up in a double team. And we're actually going to see Newton get moved by this double team about 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. But we usually find him working towards the ball carrier no matter what is happening to his block, and he does get the tackle here for a limited gain. And it would be a valid concern for NFL teams to be unsure about his ability to stop the run from the interior. But it is always nice to see guys who seem like they're out of the play end up making the tackle. On this one, we're going to see his patented swim move, where he's just going to instantly swipe the hands of the guard and then just swim move him into the oblivion. He gets pancaked by his own player and also forces an incompletion. And Newton has really mastered the swim move, and I mean, he's embarrassed these guys all day with the same move. And while Newton projects as a defensive tackle, we are going to see some of his bend from the outside here, trying to get around on this stunt. The Wisconsin O-line does a poor job picking it up, but it does take a little too long to get there, as they do get the ball out, but it ends up being batted at the line regardless. Now this final clip isn't going to be the most impressive clip, but it's definitely going to be the most impactful as he beats this right guard and sends this quarterback right into the dirt. This is one of the most violent hits I've ever seen from a defensive tackle on a quarterback, and really think that the throw of the flag is completely warranted. But that does not change how ridiculous of a play this is. It's essentially everything that we've seen from Newton all day, all jumbled up into one, especially with him getting the sack at the end. We see the guard kind of lunge when throwing his hands, not get control of him at all, also get a hold and then send the quarterback right into the ground. It's a nice little culmination with a nice little reaction from Newton at the end. And without a doubt, Newton is going to be one of the most athletic defensive tackles in this class, with some pretty sky-high potential if he goes to a scheme where all of his strengths are used correctly. And as of today, I'd probably rank him as a mid to late first round pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. And with that being said, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Make sure to smash that like button and stay tuned for more draft related content.